Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us at Build 2017 today. It's the last day. Thanks for being here. I know last couple sessions people start floating away. I'm John Vinsel. I'm a PM lead on the app model team. I'm responsible for basically all the packaging and deploying and some of the tooling for you guys to build UWP or the desktop bridge apps. With me is...
I'm Sandeep George. I'm a senior program manager on the same team.
We're going to spend some time today talking to you about building extensible, streamable, componentizable apps. And along with this session, we're also just going to talk about some other packaging and deployment stuff coming beyond what we've done in the Windows 10 Creators Update. So Build was a little over a year ago, so I just want to give a kind of a quick recap of things that we might have shipped that not everyone kind of knows about. So what did we do in the anniversary update? I know a year ago, but we launched app extensions. So folks using Edge, Edge is using the app extensions or Edge extensions. Anyone maybe doing enterprise stuff or rebuilding their PC a lot, or even doing all the Windows Insider upgrades, you'll see a new and improved logon experience. Apps in general are a lengthy part, or were a lengthy part of the logon experience and getting your new PC set up. We actually invested a lot of time to try to make the deployment experience for apps really good and really fast. So we did that in the anniversary update, and we actually did a little bit more in the creators update. For folks who haven't seen it yet, the app installer launched. That started in the anniversary update, gave you guys the ability to go and just double click a .appx or a .appx bundle file and easily install it. And then folks shipping apps in the store, we also launched a feature called developer controlled app updates. It's a way that you can, within your app, check against the store and make sure that the app is always up to date. So if you wanted to make sure if people have turned off automatic updates, you're on the latest and greatest version, there are some APIs that allow you to encourage the user to go and get their app up to date. So that's what we did about a year ago. Just a quick recap. What are we going to talk about today? Sorry, some more information on a blog there. Well, we spent the past year or so kind of tackling this problem that our apps are just these big monolithic things. We spent some time with a bunch of developers, not shocking. Developers have lots of feedback. These are just some of the ones that just kind of keep resonating with us. You know, I want to just get engaged with my apps, my users faster, right? If I go to the store, even if I'm doing my own enterprise deployment, I have to wait for that entire package to come down before the app will launch. Sometimes you want to ship content that's not part of your main package. You want to do like an add-on or something that's really trusted that you, the developer, ships. You need lots of apps to function as one. You guys heard about Office coming to the store as part of the Windows 10 S launch. It's a great example of what they need to do. They need to have all these apps talk and outside of these app containers. And then lastly, you just want to do the thing that you could always do with MSI and let people pick and choose some things they want installed and not put the entire footprint of your app down on the device. So we spent the past year or so taking into account those requirements, talking with the developers, and we've launched a couple features that we'll talk about today in the Windows 10 Creators Update. So all this kind of builds into how we go componentize our app. What we have today, leading up to the Creators Update, are three ways that you can kind of separate up your app. First off is app services. We did a great build session on that last year, where you can talk about how you can use an app service to talk between a couple apps. App extensions or Edge extensions, I just talked about that. And for folks that really don't know, we've shipped this back in Windows 8.1 resource packs. It's a way that you can do like language or scale-specific stuff in packages that can be deployed only to the devices that need them. So if you have like a multilingual app, you can put all the resource strings across multiple packages in your bundle, and they'll only get deployed on the devices that they're needed on. But now in the Creators Update, we've added application streaming install and then optional packages. And that's what we're going to spend a bunch of time today kind of talking about, getting you guys familiar with the concepts, and between me and Sandy, kind of walking you through what it's going to take to build those two apps. So let's talk about app streaming install. So if we look at the traditional application installation mechanism, I mean, you go to the store, like I said, you hit start. Download might take a while. If you're 10 gig app, maybe you're a 1 gig app, it still takes a little bit depending on the connection. We know that there's a lot of drop off from users. They might go do something else. This guy here, he just decided to take a nap while he's downloading an app on his phone. He might just forget about it and go off and do something else and never engage in your app. So what are the types of things that we can do to actually make it quicker and easier for your users to engage with the app? So we came up with app streaming installation. I mean, streaming technologies have been around for a while, but what we've done differently is we've actually put the control of the streaming in the hands of the developer to optimize the experience. So first off, streaming installation allows the users to launch the app before they're fully downloaded. Pretty typical there. As the apps continue, or as they're used, or as just you have a network connection, we're going to continue to download the rest of the app in the background. Again, this will just let you get into your app quicker and easier. So what does it kind of look like? First off, we just take our app, we go and we divide it in these things called content groups. So you as a developer define the files that you kind of want to be streamed, and you create these groups. So again, this is all in your control as a developer to create the experience that you want to create. Okay, first off, you define what we call the required section. This is the base minimum that you need for the app to launch. So maybe you're building a game, it might be the engine plus level 1 in your title screen, and then you can go and define maybe costume packs or levels or things like that. If you're a calculator app or something like that, maybe it's just basic things like multiplication, addition, subtraction, and then advanced calculations can kind of come down later. And then you go ahead and you go and define what we call our automatic groups. Again, these can be anything that you guys define at a file level. So it can be one automatic group, it could be 100, 1,000 automatic groups. It's up to you guys to define, and you can define it however you want. You can also define files across the automatic groups that are the same file. So maybe level 1, 2, and 3 share the same file. You can define it multiple times, and then it'll go ahead and get downloaded when you ask for it. So when the user goes and clicks on install in our store, or if you're installing from a network share, maybe in an enterprise, we'll go ahead and get that required section. As soon as that required section comes down, the tile will be active in the start menu, so the user will see it in their all apps list. They can go ahead and launch it, and then as they're working or doing whatever they want, or maybe they don't even launch it, everything's continuing to download in the background while the app is running or not running. So as long as there's some sort of network connection back to where you acquired the app. So I think the coolest way to show you guys this is actually just take you on a demo of it. So Andy, one of my team members, had created a streaming app. And it's just this general knowledge streaming study guide. So we have it in the store. So we go ahead and click install. It's going to go grab a license and start downloading. You'll see the normal store experience here. A little bit of a slow connection. So you can see it was a 1 gig game or 1 gig file for the entire package, but I've downloaded a minimal amount, and now I'm able to go ahead and launch. Within my app, you can see I just have a bunch of general knowledge trivia type of things. So I have city, landmarks, learn about your favorite program managers. So you can see I'm starting to paint some progress within my app, showing that I'm downloading stuff in the background. But I have cities that's available for me to go use. So the app is functioning in some minimal use, where I can go and just kind of take a trivia quiz here. Say, Washington, Sydney, Paris, Seattle.
Good job.
And I can go back. You can see, as I was doing that, landmarks is still downloading, and that's a pretty big, lots of graphics in there. So what I want to do is I actually want to go use program managers. So if I go and click on this, it should just go and kick in and reprioritize. And you can see now, because I clicked on it as a use, I, as the developer, declared, hey, I need to go get these resources available so that the user gets a better experience and can start using this part of my app. So give it a second to download. And you can see now it's available, and it should kick back off right now and start downloading landmarks, where it left off last. Then you can go see here, and now I have a playable portion of my app. So that's a really basic case of how streaming install would work, but that's it from the user experience. I think the other cool thing is show you how would you go build this, and what does it really mean for you as a developer to make this work?
Cool. So let's try. So the basics of the way you create a streaming application is to go define a content group map. So it's a file, and that file you go and list all of your content, and you group them into groups. And the order in which you define the content groups ends up being the order in which the application gets installed. So this contains content. So it could be all of your resources that you have in your app, and you can also have native code. Again, if this content group map, which is a file, is present in your package, it tells the OS that this application is now streamable. Okay? And streaming is new with the Windows Creators Update. So make sure you have to set your package to point to the creator's update as your min OS version.
So what you're saying here, Sandeep, is the minimum I need to do to make my app streamable is just create this content group map.
Exactly.
And I'll get that.
Exactly.
But I want to actually improve that experience because I really just don't want users hanging and waiting for files to download. So what does it really look like for me to create an experience for our users?
Right. OK. So just to recap, there's actually tooling available, and I'm going to show you right now. So let's go onto my PC. So here's the streaming study app, the guide app that John just showed right now. And here in my app, at the root of my package, I have the apex content group map.xml. So this file is the CGM. And as you can see in the CGM, I have just the automatic section, and I have 2 content groups. And each content group has a name, which is the identifier. And under each content group, I list out all the files that make up that group. So pretty simple.
So for each content group, I can just create my own custom name. I don't have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Exactly.
And it can be friendly to me as a developer.
Right.
Okay.
And you also notice that John talked about required section. So you don't have to explicitly go and call that out. The platform figures out that everything that's not in the automatic section must be in the required section. OK, so you might be thinking, well, this looks kind of easy. I mean, well, it's a simple app, and there's probably like 20 pictures in there. So how do I build a more complex app? So keeping that in mind, we added another feature. So you can start off. So instead of starting directly with the apex content group map file, you can start with a feeder file. So that is here, which is my source apex content group map.xml. So it's a feeder file in which now you have to declare the required section and then the automatic section. Now, the reason we ask you to go declare the required section is because we want you to be explicit about like all of the files that really need to make up the required section. Remember, the goal is to make the required section as lean as possible. Okay? So you'd also notice that now in the feeder file, I have wildcards. So essentially what that lets you do is you don't have to go list out each and every single file. Like you can just say things like file names equal star, and that means that pick up all the files at the root of my package. Or another example is, I want all of my logo assets. So again, star logo. And when I go define the automatic section, again, I define the ID, which is the unique identifier. And then I just say everything under my assets landmarks, which if you look at my project, they're all just folders. And under each of the folders, I have images. So from a developer point of view, you just think of all of your different levels or whatever you want in your application to be streamed as files and folders. So once you do that, in Visual Studio 2017, there's fantastic tooling available to actually produce the final content group map. So what you can do is right-click on your project, and under Store, there's a new option which is Convert Content Group Map File. So I'm not going to do that right now because it has to build the entire project. But essentially what happens is the tooling converts your feeder file and then produces the apex content group map.xml, which it then places at the root of your package. Right? So that's the easy way you can go and create your content group map. So if you were using make.apex, you can do all of this using make.apex as well. So there's switches available in the make.apex. For those of you who are not familiar, that is the SDK tool that we ship that lets you do all of the packaging stuff.
But if I'm just building in VS and I like to use folders, like maybe I want templates as a stream for my business app,
yeah.
I can just go create this source content group map file, use the wildcards that kind of base off my folders, and then that's all the work I have to do?
Exactly.
Oh, cool.
Right. So I want to show you 2 additional things. The first one is, like in John's demo, we saw that when you're building a streaming app, you probably want to show progress of your content groups getting downloaded. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. And the second thing is, again, the user might want to jump into a different level. So how do you programmatically go and reorder the order in which content groups are getting downloaded? So for the first one, let's go to my app xaml.cs. And I'm going to jump into a method that I have called hookupCatalog. And essentially all I had to do was there is a package catalog class, and this is the class that gives you interesting information about your own package. So in this case, I'm going and registering with an event handler, and I say I'm signing up for package content group staging events. So every time there's a staging event that's happening for my content groups, I get the callback, and I'm able to go show some progress. So this is very simple, and if you've already done packaging and you already have a progress in your apps, you're already probably using this. So the next thing is, great. Now, as a user, they want to go and reorder something, jump into a different level. So for that, I'm going to go into my main page XAML.cs. And to tag on the example that John was showing, let's say someone goes and clicks on to Program Managers page. So someone like John went and clicked on Program Managers. And at that point, what you essentially need to do in your application is get content group async, and you pass in one of the ID, so your content group name. And that's basically querying and asking, what is the status of that content group? And if the function returns back saying it's staged, great, that means it's installed, so I can proceed and go into that page. If not, you can call the stage content group async API, and you pass in the content groups that you want to reorder. Just if you notice that, it's a list, which makes it particularly interesting. Like if you want to go and reorder like 4 or 5 content groups simultaneously, you could just do a single API call. So quickly recapping what we looked at. So the crux of building a streaming app is defining your content group map. And there's 2 ways to do it. Either you want to look at the templates that are available on MSDN, and you manually go and author the Apex content group map.xml, or you could start with the feeder file and then use the tooling that's available. And the tooling lets you do things like wildcard, so you don't have to go list out every single resource, and let the tooling generate the final Apex content group map for you. Now, the next logical thing, great, I've gone and built a streaming app. How do I actually validate that this thing actually works? So debugging is next in line. So when you're building a streaming app, you're probably doing it with files. And at that point, like literally all the files are already present on your file system. So to test streaming, you really need to mimic the presence or the absence of content groups. So the way you do that is programmatically. There's APIs available where you can set the debug setting, and you can go set the state of your content groups programmatically. You can set them to be staged, not staged, or even like say it's staging and pass in a percentage. Okay, to make that easier, I just want to call out that we're adding tooling in the Windows developer portal. So that's a tool. I mean, if maybe some of you are already using it, but it's a tool that makes side loading and a lot of these developer scenarios very easy. So we're adding support to that. That's coming soon.
So what you're saying here, Sandeep, is if I just want to do a quick test, I can go and take that loose file folder, register it like I normally did, don't have to do any of this packaging.
Right.
And then I can just use these APIs, and I can like stage a content group, see how like a level might play. And then I can say, well, hold on, what happens if it wasn't there? I can just immediately through the API destage it, and then I can actually go and set different percentages so I can understand what I'm going to paint to the user for progress.
Correct. And there's a link to a GitHub page at the end, and there's a sample project that you can look at. So you can look at that and see, it's a simple app that actually uses the debugging APIs. So check that out. Now, on the other hand, if you already have a package, what you can do is on desktop, you can use the add Apex package. So these are part of the PowerShell commandlets that are standard with Windows. And you can see that there is a new flag, which is you can say add Apex package and just specify install just the required section. And what that does is it goes and installs the app and just the required content section. And at that point, the app is available for launch. So then you can proceed to launching your application. You can attach a debugger to the app, and then go back and install the app again. Like if you're using DoubleClick, using the app installer, double-click to install, And essentially what that does is the OS figures out that, wait, the required section is already installed. So at this point, I'm just going to start installing all of the automatic groups. So an easy way for you to test and debug that your streaming app actually works.
And then once I go and double click or do add apex package after my required, it behaves just like it would from the store or if you were doing it from a UNC.
Exactly.
And if I'm testing and reprioritize, all that will kind of take effect from the URIs that I'm using.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Cool.
Cool. So one of the cool things about building features nowadays is we get to spend more time with developers, especially our internal folks, so Microsoft product teams across. So we spend some time actually getting some feedback and getting some tips and tricks. And we kind of came up with, as we're building streaming apps, things to kind of think about. So obviously one of the easiest things to kind of go remember is whenever you're going to go and access files, just do the group check, the file access check before you, for the content group availability before you access the files. The worst thing you want to do is try to grab a file that doesn't exist. Kind of simple, but it's just kind of good to call out because we've seen some people kind of forget to do that. If a content group is not available, like Sandeep said, there's APIs that you can go trigger it. Again, we put the control in the hands of the developer for you guys to go and create the experience that you want. We just didn't want to stream and have the developer with or the users with lots of wait time. So we give you guys the ability and the flexibility to build the streaming experience that you want. During download, you can get notification progress. We highly recommend paint some sort of progress for the user. In our sample app here, we just did simple percentage. You can do progress bars. Maybe you can do custom loading screens. It's really up to the experience that you want to build for your apps, but keep the users informed instead of just like the thing we sometimes do in Windows where you just see the spinning ants around. And then users should be notified of content group downloading if they're waiting. Just kind of talked about that. The most important thing we got from our internal teams, especially people that have been building streaming apps across other platforms, is think about how you want to go and build a streaming app when you design. Don't try to actually implement streaming after you've built your app. You'll find that you maybe break up files differently, or you'll create the experiences different in transitions if you think about how you actually want to stream your app during the design phase instead of after you've built the app. So that was kind of streaming. That was one way you can kind of separate and componentize your app. And really that was focused around getting users engaged in using your app quicker. The other thing we kind of want to talk about is optional packages. And this is just a way to separate your app where things that might not always be required to run your app are available. So I got this cool little dude here that's going to help me explain what optional packages are. So like I said, it's a way to componentize your UWP app. We had before resource packs, which is the early stages of componentization, but we really want to separate things out. We want to make it so that users don't always have to get a full payload on their device. Maybe you actually want to go and license things differently. Maybe you want to have an add-on pack that's like 99 cents more for this functionality. Typically today, you'd go and you'd put it into your app, and then you'd do an IAP or an in-app purchase, then you'd wait for the receipt, but every user has to eat that 20 meg footprint. Now we're allowing you to go and separate that out, download it and acquire it separately, license it separately, monetize it separately, and really take advantage of our store, or even do this within your enterprise if you're just building your own line of business apps. Packages can be content or they can run native code, so you have some flexibility. And we're going to talk about some nuances about if you're going to run native code or just be content only, because there's a couple different restrictions when we talk about those. All optional packages require a main app, and I'll kind of walk through what that means for you guys as developers. And all the optional packages run off the main app's capabilities. So those last two bullets are really, really important to understand for the next one. When you go and install an optional package, the optional package, while it might have a different package name, always runs in the app identity of what we call this main app. So a main app needs to be present, whether it's your engine or your basic levels or whatever. And then the optional package is just really just a separate payload coming down, and it assumes the identity of the main app, its capabilities and all that. So it really runs like it's just one app installed, but it's really just two different units of distribution, allowing you the flexibility to separate out your app. So I got some illustrations here I'll kind of walk through that might explain this a little bit better. So let's go through the most basic of examples, just extending an optional package and not using any code, because that's pretty simple. So we have a base app. We have this app that's going to do some face analysis. Sandeep's going to go and show you some demos of this in a little bit. And then we just have a filter pack. So it's not code, it's just little filters that you can put on some pictures and everything. It's just going to be content only. So right here, there are two different packages. They were acquired separately from our store. When you go and launch that, they all launch like they're just one app within the face analysis app identity. So that face analysis app is the main app. It all runs under the same identity. There's no version dependencies. So because this is content only, it's just a loose versioning scheme where you just say, hey, my optional package requires this main pack to be present. You don't have anything to do with versioning. They'll just kind of all work together. But they could be multi-publisher. So you can actually go work with partners and whatnot to co-produce something. So maybe me and Sandeep partner up, but we want to use different Dev Center accounts. Longer term, we'll have full multi-publisher support for that. So that's the real easy way, but I kind of want to do some stuff with code. So what would that look like? So adding on to the same example, I installed my face analysis app. I have my filter pack. Now I want to actually run some native code. So I have this face utility pack that going to go identify my age or something like that. What's different when we run code is we're actually going to put a version dependency in place. We don't want you running code across two different apps that can get out of sync and start causing your app to crash. So you'll see here in this example, I have the face analysis app and then the face utility pack that has some native code in it, and both are version 1.0. So there's a very specific version dependency here. If I go and do an update to these, you can kind of hopefully see that little blue ring around there. It doesn't display very well. If you go and do an update, when you go do an update to this app, you have to declare the new versions that are required. It doesn't mean that you actually have to update both pieces. You just have to declare the exact versions. So in this case, I can go update those. Maybe my face analysis app goes up to 2.0. Maybe my utility pack's 1.1. Maybe it stays at 1.0. The only thing you actually have to do here, like I said, is go and declare the versions. You don't actually have to rev all the packages at the same time. So we just want to create some sort of assurance that when you're loading code across packages, the app won't kind of do bad things for you. And again, all this stuff can be multi-publisher. So we're really, as we're building these things to extend out, we're really focusing on how can you also partner with other people and just build richer experiences and not forcing one developer to have to do everything. Okay. And then lastly, we also allow you to extend apps, optional packages across multiple apps. So we talked about that filter pack, but what if you actually came out with a second app? And this is like a fun webcam, and you want to have these mustaches on your fun webcam. You can actually go and install that or install the fun webcam. If the optional package is there, and you launch the fun webcam, it'll actually know that it's there. When the fun cam is running, it'll be able to access the optional package, and it'll all run in the same app identity. If the face analysis app is running, it'll also be able to use that filter pack. So you're able to actually split across multiple apps. So for these content-only things, you can write it once and use it across multiple of your own apps. Again, it all runs in the same app identity. Across multiple apps cannot run code. We do not allow any kind of code to run across that. And that's really because of that version dependency that I talked about on the last slide. We don't want you to have to declare that one app has a version 1.0 of this optional package and the other has 1.1, and now you're kind of stuck in this update hell. So for the multiple apps, you can only do content only. And again, can be multi-publisher. So I like talking about the PowerPoints. I think it's much cooler to see this stuff live in action. So Sandeep's going to show you some demos and a little bit of code on how this all works.
All right, so let's look at that face analysis app that John was talking about. So it's a very simple app. I can open up a picture, and in this case, it's a picture of Andy who's sitting in the front row.
Oh, hey.
He was kind enough to give us his photo. As you can see, the app can find a face in a photo. Now, those of you thinking, I've seen this app before, probably right. I just picked it up from one of the UWP samples. Okay? So that's the base app, and I thought, how do I make this app more fun? So I introduced an optional package. It's a filter optional package. Let me show you what it does. So I go install this optional package, and as soon as it's done installing, now in my base app, there's new UI that popped up. So it's glasses and a mustache. So I can give Andy some glasses and a mustache, right? It's a simple idea. It's an optional package that has some content.
What's also cool is you can also just click to install the optional packages.
Exactly. So it's just an Apex or an Apex bundle, so the operating system knows exactly how to go install it. So let's jump into Visual Studio, and I'm going to show you how I build this filter optional package. So that's my base app out there, face analysis. And I want to take your attention to the filter optional package that I have. And as you can see, all it really has is that it has some pictures, like a mustache and glasses. And being an optional package, now I have the flexibility that in the future, I want to go add maybe a hat, a beard. I can do all of that stuff. It's outside of my main package, and it gives me that flexibility. And maybe even monetize on beards and glasses, right? So that's pretty much what's actually in that package. But what really makes this package an optional package is something in its manifest. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to go to XML editor, because we all like XML. And pretty much the two things that I want to point out here is, one, I have a min.os version dependency on the Windows Creators Update, because this is new with the Creators Update. And the second thing, and the most important thing, is that I'm saying that I have a main package dependency, and I specify an identity. And that's the identity of my base app. So that's the key thing. And I'm going to show you in a bit why identity is so important in like everything that you do in UWP. But that's pretty much all I had to do in my package. And I build this, and now this is an optional package. So now let's go to my base app. And I'm going to show you how I'm actually able to now go and access the content that was inside my optional package. So going to my base app, I'm going to go to my main page XAML.cs. And let's go to the method where I add a filter. Awesome. And that's the function right there. So what I do is I get a handle to my current object, my package object, and I just enumerate my dependencies. And because optional packages have the same identity as the base app, the optional packages that you install show up in your dependency graph. So I'm able to like walk over my dependencies and pick the package, which is in this case the face filter optional package. And at that point, I can go and say, you know what, get me the install location of that package. And then proceed to like go find the particular filter image, and then I do my visualization. So very easy. You know, this is exactly the same lines of code that you would write if you were trying to access content that was inside your base app's install location. So like John said, optional packages is not just for content. You can also have code. And to show that, let me close three of these windows. I'm going to go right here. So I'm going to bring up my Andy again.
Nice mustache.
Yeah. And I'm going to click on my utility pack. I'm going to go install that. And again, the base app recognizes that the optional package is present. And now I have something that says guess age. Ready?
Ooh. Sorry,
Okay,
Andy.
sorry. Andy's like probably 21. So it's a good idea that this is an optional package. I can go fix the algorithm, right? So now let me show you. Let's jump right back into Visual Studio. And let's open up my age optional package. And pretty much the only thing this really has is that I have a reference on a DLL, which has my age function. And I have to be honest, I was lazy, so this is a random number generator. So it's not that Andy is actually 42. So that's the DLL that I have in my package. And again, if I was looking at the manifest, same thing. Let me open that up. And in XML editor, and again here, depending on the creator's update, again, the key thing is that I specify the identity of my base app. Also, even though this optional package has code, it doesn't have any capabilities. The reason is that your optional package runs with the identity, again, of your base app. So if your app had, like your optional package had any capability, you would just put that in your base app. So that's it that I had to do for the optional package. And now for the interesting thing, let me go into my, back into my main page.xaml, which is in my base app. And when I clicked on calculate age, so this is the function that get called. Again, just like before, you can see that, let me scroll down. Again, I enumerate all of my dependencies, and I check if my age analysis optional package is installed. If it's installed, I can now call load package library, and I just specify a DLL name. And the cool thing is, because again, they have the same identity, the loader code knows to go and look at the root of my optional package, and it finds that particular DLL. And since we're loading native code at this point, I have some interop code that loads the DLL and goes and executes the function, and I can now overlay the image, right? So very simple. And now you might be thinking, like John was saying, when you have code involved, you want to have that strict versioning. We call that a related set. So as a developer, you want to specify that what versions of my packages work together. And that is defined in a related set. So let me show you first off what that related set looks like. So the related set definition is now part of your Apex bundle manifest.xml. I'm going to show you how I made this. But if you're not familiar with the Apex bundle manifest, it's a manifest file that's part of your Apex bundle. And that has the definition of all the packages. So the Apex bundle is like a grouping of Apexes. And the Apex bundle manifest has definitions of all of the architecture packages that you have, all of your resource packs, like languages and scale. And now to the same document, there's a section that says, what are all my optional packages? So in this case, it says there's the optional package called face analysis, age analysis, and the versioning is 1.0. And it also says that the base app is 1.0. And that's pretty much the document that the operating system looks at, and it knows what the versioning is. So how did I create this? If you're using Visual Studio 2017, this becomes really easy. So all I had to do was, this is my, my face analysis app. And at the root of my package, I had to create a file called bundle.mapping.txt. Just drop that text file in, and I specify all of my projects that need to be in the related set. And the tooling goes and generates the bundle manifest that I just showed you. Again, if you're not using Visual Studio, you can still do all of this using Make Apex, which is our packaging tool. You can, the same way you create a bundle, you will also specify all of your optional packages. And note, there's at the end of the deck, we have some links to our blog posts that have detailed instructions, and there's MSDN documentation as well on this. Okay.
And then the bundle manifest you showed just a second ago is the bundle manifest specifically for the main app.
Correct. It's part of the base app, right? It's the main app.
So it only has to be declared one way. You don't have to declare it two-way in any bundle that you use.
Exactly. Okay. So let's do a quick recap of what we looked at. So when you're building an optional package, you have a design choice to make. Do you want to be in a related set or not? Starting with, here's a couple of things that's going to help make the decision. If you have code involved, you have to be in a related set, because it makes sense, because you have versioning and you want to have that tight coupling. Now, if you had content and you wanted that to be in tight sync with your main app, you can still use a related set. So it's not that only code can be in a related set. You can also have content if you want to have that kind of strict versioning. Next thing is, if you want your application to have a presence in the app list, the user can go and tap it from start or pin a tile to start. You can do that if your app is in a related set. To give you an example, none of the examples that I showed you were just very simple apps. But to put things into perspective, about a week ago, Terry Myerson had announced that Office 365 is coming to the store. And Office 365, and it has all of your favorite apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. All of these apps are actually optional packages. They all have app list entries. Okay, so the user can go and directly interact with any one of those apps. But yet, they're all optional packages. So they have the model where they can now go and access code and content between them. So the face analysis app is not the only app that we've built. There's a very complicated app like Office that's actually using this whole infrastructure. Again, if you want to produce an optional package and you think that it can serve like more than one app, like in John's example, like a webcam app as well as the face analysis app, it has to be outside the related set. You're talking about content at that point. And finally, let's spend a second talking about the update experience. So if you have just content in an optional package, you have the ability to go and now update your content packages without having to restart your main app. But if you're in a related set, you probably have code and you have the tight versioning. And to make sure that everything is in sync, to update one of these optional packages that have code, you also have to restart your main. So let's talk about the Windows Store. Okay, as Windows, we want all of your apps to come to the Windows Store. So let's talk about what's possible and what's not possible today. Starting with streaming. Streaming is publicly available, so you can go download the SDK, start building your streaming app, get it on the store. It's available right now. Optional packages right now it's a very limited partner onboarding. We're still vetting the system end to end. But if you think that you have an application that can leverage optional packages and produce some cool content for our customers, go ahead and email the group, the DL that I've specified there, and we're going to help you and get your app in the store.
And then likewise, if you're building apps within your enterprise, again, the SDK has all the functionality ready to go, so you can go sign that with your enterprise cert and distribute it through your enterprise means.
Yep. Great point.
Cool. So that was a lot of cool stuff that we're doing in the Windows 10 Creators Update. Since build kind of happens once a year, it's kind of fun time to share stuff that's kind of coming in the future, so you guys just don't hear about what's shipping and you get an insight to what we want to kind of go do. So what's going on beyond the Creators Update? So either in the Windows 10 Fall Creators Update or later. So Sandeep talked about this a little bit. We're building a first-class experience for debugging streaming app within the Windows Developer Device Portal. We're going to give you the ability to go and set those content groups and then go and configure custom staging. So right now we have the APIs available for you. Pretty soon in a Windows Insider release, we should have an experience for you coming so that you can use, in the Fall Creators Update, one of the Windows Insider builds, you can use WDP to help build and debug your streaming apps. On that same topic, we're actually improving the WDP experience for all app installation. If you're using WDP now and you're on Xbox versus PC, you're kind of getting a couple different experiences. We've actually taken some time, looked over what we wanted to do, and trying to commonize the experience regardless of the device that you're going to. While we're doing that, we've also added support to register from network. That was a feature that we did in the Creators Update that allows you to actually do that loose file registration directly to a network share, so it doesn't have to be a local file folder. It was available on Xbox. It's now available on Xbox, PC, or any of our devices that have SMB access. And then additionally, we're adding support for optional packages, so you can go and deploy the optional packages via the WDP experience. And again, this will be consistent across all Windows devices. One of the other things we've heard about is a lot of people might be using an enterprise tool called Click Once, or maybe just using custom scripts to go and figure out how you can update your app when it's not serviced via our store. We're starting the pathway to building an app updating system for non-store apps. So really with enterprise in mind, how do we go and let you guys go and host an app either on an HTTP location or UNC share that you can go and just have your users click and not have to think about them being out of date or not. It's kind of similar to folks who've used Click Once, where your IT pro, your developer goes and configures some metadata. Based on that metadata, we'll go and do some checks on the system. And then within your app, you can go and see if there's an update pending or not. And then we'll kind of go and silently service in the background. We're going to have what I call a V1 of this, which has some basic functionality in the Fall Creators Update. And then beyond the Fall Creators Update, we're going to keep improving that experience so that we give you a first-class experience for updating whether you're in the store or outside the store. App installer, we're trying to make it as easy as possible to get .appx and appx bundles on your device. We spent a bunch of time talking about related sets. You saw Sandeep had to go and install 3 different packages. How do we make it really easy if you have a whole related set to go and install it? So we're looking at a one-click install. Again, you'll probably have some sort of document file that goes with your apps, and you can go and say, I want all of these apps to be installed or not. We experienced a little bit of this when we were self-hosting Office. how did we get Word, Excel, and PowerPoint as we were building Office installed? It would have been awesome if this was ready instead of me installing a whole bunch of individual packages. So this will be coming in the fall creators update. And then we're doing some small things like launch when ready, right? We know a lot of people want to install the app and start using it. Why do you make me hit the launch button? So we'll just kind of go in, just like what MSI would do when you're done installing, give you the ability to go and launch when ready. It's an option. You can turn it off if you don't want. What else is kind of coming? Runtime access, runtime SMB access for packaged apps. So we see a lot of this with development with large assets. How can I, within my app, go and access an SMB and change my resources? We'll go and add that support. When we're also thinking about, we have the scale resources and we have the language resources. Do we need new resource pack types that just kind of automatically deploy to your system? We're looking at what new resource pack types we might want to go define. I don't know, I kind of think 4K seems like a cool one, so maybe that one's coming. Maybe some other ones, we're trying to figure that out. But we're looking at trying to find new ways to grow our resource pack model, so it's just not an optional package you use. You can leverage a resource pack, and then the system does the intelligent install. Improving the developer experience. I mean, how many people are building like larger apps or do a lot of repackaging? Yeah, our tools kind of suck, they're slow. Like, I won't deny that. So we're working on the performance and just trying to make the whole development experience, whether you're building a lot of small packages or a lot of big packages or just one package in general, trying to reduce the time that you guys as developers have to spend with our tools and our tools processing. And then on Windows Desktop, we're just going to add in, we have the DISM commands, but we're actually going to add a native API to go install for all users on the device. So we see this a lot in enterprise, definitely in EDU, where I want to register the app so that all users of the device get it. DISM's cool. It's a little heavy-handed. It's command line. How can I do this through like my company hub, or maybe we'll do it through the store in a future release? But giving you guys native APIs to go and just register that app so that any user that walks up to that device gets the app. We want to have that experience as a native API for you. And then lastly, I was going to just show one more demo of something that's coming. Let's see. You go to mine.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, just go to mine. That's fine. Oops. Maybe. Hello. No, it's me. Oops.
Should I just?
Yeah, flip back real quick.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, here, you go to mine. All right, so we spent a bunch of time like making it really easy for you guys to install apps. What we wanted to do is make that experience almost next level. So anyone that's used the AppX file format or the .appx bundle know that we do a lot of intelligent install over the network. We have a block map. We know exactly what we need to download over the network and what we want to go and install. But if you're in an enterprise and you actually want to host your app on an HTTP location, that means you actually have to download the whole AppX bundle file, all architectures, all resources, go and double-click it, and then install it. So you're essentially doing double your footprint to really just get this app installed. What we have here is a demo that hopefully works of some hot-off-the-press code that lets me just click directly from HTTP. And as you can see, my app installer just launched. I, over HTTP, contacted the package, grabbed the manifest, pulled all my resource information, let you know the app that you're about to install, and then when I click the install button, it should go and install over HTTP. Now, it might be a little slow because Andrew back there might not have paid my Azure bill, but it's hosted on Azure, and if you give it a second, it'll probably go in and install. Maybe.
Maybe.
But again, early code, it gives us the ability to give you guys more flexibility in installing your apps outside your store for development. Maybe you're hosting your own websites instead of just passing these big, large packages around. Thank you. Cool. So a feature recap. I'm going to read this entire, no, I'm not going to read this entire slide to you. This is just a slide for you guys to kind of take away. And when you're thinking about building apps, what kind of fits into what model? I mean, again, if you think about streaming install, it's really about just quick user engagement. Optional packages, it's really about separating your app up so that the footprint's not really large. Again, as you're thinking about like add-on content or not, optional package fits that need. App extensions is another way to do that, but we like to think about that as like more untrusted or less trusted code. So like you go and you build your extension model and anyone can go build an extension for you. Where optional package, you actually have to trust and have a direct relationship with the developer. Resource packs, those are just part of your main app, and they're made efficient for either your language or for your scale. And then app service, it's just an easy service to kind of go interact with. So call to action is really just, there's a whole bunch of new ways for you guys to go and build and get creative with your apps, and hopefully we're really moving the app model forward in a direction that makes it easier for you guys to move to store apps or move to, at minimum, just the packaged app format or the .appx package, because you'll get efficiencies in deploying apps, you'll get efficiencies in uninstall and just managed app, and you don't have to go build your own custom installers, and then your users get a better experience. And if you do come to our store, you also get all the benefits of being able to sell the Windows 10s. So lots of different options for you guys, and hopefully this is really evolving the app model for you guys so that it's becoming more competitive with what you've done in the past with like the Win32 apps. We talked about it. My team, the guys in the front here, me and Sandeep, run a blog. Generally what we do on my blog is as stuff's getting launched in the insider preview, we like to get some early documentation out. It's great to kind of see as we're releasing streaming install or optional packages, there's a lot of good content out there. If you just kind of listen, you'll see cool new stuff going out. There's also some direct links to the two things we talked about today. Early on, I talked about app services and app extensions. We did an awesome session last year at Build that went in depth on how you can go build app extensions, hosts, and all that. So that's just a direct link to that session. And then I'm the last session in the group. Andrew and Kevin, my director, are doing some Q&A at 2 o'clock, which will be really cool. But these are just great sessions to go back and review. John did a great one if you're looking to go to the desktop bridge. Likewise, there's a couple great Roam sessions. And then Matt, competing with me right now, is doing the one on adaptive cards you might have seen in the keynote. So lots of cool stuff. When you guys get a chance, it's just good to watch directly on Channel 9. Cool, and it looks like we have a few moments for questions and answers. So if anyone has a question, just step up to the mic and we'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you. And hold on, I do have to go back because my app did finish installing while I was talking. So it's all there. I can launch it. I had to let the demo finish. Cool. Question?
Yeah. You mentioned that the optional packages support code, not just resources. What about the streaming? Is there any support there for streaming code, like DLLs?
Yeah. So streaming will support native code. Right.
So I can stream the app, portions of code as well?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
If it's a native app.
If it's a native code.
Yeah. And this also supports does this also support bridge apps using the desktop bridge?
So optional packages definitely support desktop bridge apps because Office is using the desktop bridge. Streaming does as well support desktop bridge apps. There just might be a little bit more work with that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
I was after some clarity on the consistent versioning of optional packages. So does the optional package have to know about the version of the main app, and the main app have to know about the version of the package?
No. So the way it works is if you're in a related set where you want the versioning, like for all optional packages, you have to go specify in your optional package manifest that you have a dependency in your main app. But there is no versioning. So if it's just content, it's a one.
No, with code.
Yeah. If you have code, in your optional package, you say, I have a dependency on my main app, and it's only the main app that has the version dependencies of like all the optional packages.
And can that specify a range of versions? So I could say it does 1.star or?
No, currently it's a strict versioning.
So if my package revs, I have to update the main app to?
Correct. And most of the cases, like since you're loading code, it's a high chance that you would also have to go update your base app. But it's something that we're looking at, and we're trying to see if we can make that more effective.
Okay.
But right now, you have, like, both of them have to be in sync.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, at a minimum, one of the things we're looking at, I don't know when it'll come, so it's not anything really quick, is separating at least the metadata definition out of that main app package. So that's one thing we're looking at. So like if you have to go and update just the optional package, you can go and update the metadata in the optional package without truly updating the main app. But we're not quite sure how we're going to go do that.
So,
but that's
would you look to specify that in the store then, rather in the package?
we don't know the experience yet, but definitely one of the things we want to kind of go look at.
Okay.
Hey, I think this model is very good, and then we run into production of 30 applications in major corporation. In federated model, we have a C# WPF app, and then it pulls down, it side loads the assemblies and satellite assemblies at runtime, depend upon the requests. So can we side load assemblies in this in-proc process?
So if I'm hearing it right, it's you have an optional package that could have code.
Yeah,
right?
if you kick off a process and then it runs into somewhere, it finds up, hey, I need a Dev Express DLLs.
Yeah.
It can't find in the local cache, then it can contact the central
Yeah.
app store and pull down that DLLs and then load into the process so that it can continue the show.
You could do that. That's kind of what the demo was showing.
Okay.
Is where I've just, like, the main app was running, and I was able to go and side load an optional package that had some DLL, and I was able to detect that, and I was able to, like, load the DLL directly.
Okay.
So you can do that.
Okay,
So-
that's
And
I was going to say, if it's outside of our store, you can use
Yeah.
the package management
so,
APIs.
exactly. So if you go to our blogs, we also have APIs that let you do that. So there's an API where you can go build an in-app purchase experience. So if you want to go get a DLL, you could, like, and you know where the location is, you can directly from within your app, you could just go and say, add optional package async, and then the deployment would just go and pull that package down and install it.
Yeah, okay.
So you can do that.
That's really good. And one more thing is in Apex manifest, I saw all the packages where you put the package name and versions and list of the dependencies, all the stuff.
Yeah.
So can we externalize that? Because I have an agent and the user machine, it kicks off and then it goes and finds out, hey, give me my, whatever that data is. Can we externalize that? Today, right now, we have what we call is a app config or package config. It kicks off this thing, hey, I'm launching some so-and-so application, then it goes to central web service, it talks, hey, give me what are these applications currently active? So it pulls down and then it pulls down the respective packages from the store. And that is our deploying mechanism because the app owner goes and he just updates that packages list, and that's all. And everything else automatically walks for us right now. I hope this model seems to be suiting for that as long as I can externalize that.
So we
data.
might have some stuff in coming up with that. The guy here in the blue shirt,
Okay.
the really small blue shirt, he'll be able to help you out.
And then definitely we expect API support. We don't want to do anything manually.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I missed that.
We expect the API support for all these things. We don't want to do anything manually.
Like support in the sense.
The package downloads and loading the
Yeah,
stuff
you
and
want to be able to do
configurations
it all in app.
and
Makes sense.
clicking
Yeah,
the buttons.
within the app. Yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's
Yeah,
important. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Jason here can
You might, we can follow
give you a
up
little
offline.
bit of where we're going and then maybe get some requirements beyond that.
Hey, so you mentioned that streaming installed and only supported since Creators Update, but I have a lot of users that are on November update or anniversary update. Is it possible to support both users with the same app? Like I would have users with old OS use the full install, and then users who updated their OS would get a better experience by streaming install.
You could do that today. So on Dev Center, you could have two versions of the app, one targeting like the anniversary update, and then you could have a second package with streaming that's for the creators update.
But you can't have
You
it
can't
work
reuse-
in the same package, right?
Yeah, you can't
No,
reuse the
yeah.
same package, unfortunately, due to some platform limitations we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So you were showing that you can load native code in your optional packages. Does this mean only C++ and XAML packages, or is .NET native also possible there?
So that's one of the limitations that we have today with managed code is the .NET native and the way it statically compiles all of your DLLs into a single DLL. So that's something that's a limitation that we have right now because you can't do a dynamic lookup and load DLLs on the fly. This is something that we've been working with the CLR team in Windows But as of this release, you can only do native code.
So if I want to deliver, let's say, new pages, new example pages with view models and things like this, I have to make a C++ XAML package for the optional package to make it work.
For right now, yeah.
For right now, yeah.
So
that's the only
it's definitely a pain point we know of developers. So user voice would be great to get
It's
a bunch
just the
of
limitation.
Yeah, it's a limitation right now. We're working with our partners in DevDiv,
But it's on your list too.
yeah, but feel free to go to user voice and
Yeah, that's
add
going to
if-
really help.
Yeah, because that actually helps us bump priority.
You had mentioned multi-publisher support. Do you have a timeline for that?
So it's ready in the platform. We'll probably first, we haven't finished all the Dev Center support for optional packages yet, so we'll get single publisher done first, and then shortly after that. I don't have good dates right now on when each thing will light up, but luckily it's a service side only, so the platform's ready to go. We just have to get the plumbing on the service to link all the accounts and invite people and whatever.
And is that going to be a whitelist that you would do?
I'm not quite sure how they're going to go implement it yet. I haven't seen the final ask. If I had to guess, it might be like what you do with the Windows Store for Business, where you send someone a invitation link to join your project, and then they go and accept it, and you get authorization that way.
Okay.
That's my guess, but I actually haven't seen what they're going to go do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any localization scenarios tied into the optional packages?
Well, optional packages can be .apex bundles, so you can just do the localization natively that way.
Yeah, so we're wondering though, we have multiple resexes or whatever the format is now, and if the user launches on a English US machine, we pull down EN US resources, right?
Yeah.
But then if that locale changes, we'd like to go re-grab the other stuff.
So dynamically getting resources.
Yeah, so we do that for Storehouse now, don't we?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, so it's on our list that we want to,
Okay.
if you
It's
change
definitely on our list,
Yeah, if
yeah.
you want to change the system locale, that we'll go and, get the Windows Update scan to go and pull things down.
Okay.
And then we actually have to go do extra work for you to be able to do it in a side load scenario.
Okay.
So it's on our list. I'm not quite sure. I thought it would be coming sooner than later.
Yeah.
And then one of the other things that we want to be able to do that's on our list, again, I'm not quite sure when, so user voice is good to help us up with this, is to allow you to install languages that are independent of your operating system as well, because we've heard some scenarios, and I'm not sure if this is yours, where I'm on an English system, but I want the French resources, because we've been learning French or something. So if that's important, user voice is also a good tool to help us get a gauge for where that kind of fits in the mix.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but just to add on to that, with the creators update, now if if the user goes and changes the language, immediately the new resources are pulled down.
Yeah, so we do
in the
that.
past, it used to wait for 24 hours. Now it's much faster. But soon we'll have the APIs that would let you do that from within your app.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the last session.